In fact, if we start from 2020 to 2021, we practically lost a third of our revenue in each of those years, just like many other metro networks around the world. But there is a difference. We are benefited by what we call the rail plus property model. So instead of, we do not need any government subsidies, even with a third of our revenue shortfall. That amounted to, for the 2 years, amounted to about $3 billion US. So we did not require government subsidy, and at the same time, we actually raised our dividend. So we, in the same 2 years, we actually dish out nearly $2 billion US of dividends to our shareholders. At the same time, while many other metro networks have to raise their fare to compensate for the shortfall in revenue, we're able to maintain our fare, no increase. In fact, we gave special concessions on fare for our passengers and on rent for our shop tenants. So in those 2 years, we actually went through very difficult times. 2022, we saw some slow recovery, but we did not stop there. We completed and opened new lines in Hong Kong, in Beijing. Working for Transport for London, we opened the Elizabeth line in London. So in just talking about the Elizabeth line, over 6 months is now the busiest railway line in UK and the most popular.
Well, I've used it. It's very convenient because it takes me from Paddington to Heathrow, and I quite like using the services. Before we talk about the UK, I do want to come back to that mobility question, though. Just in terms of volumes, what are you seeing in terms of passenger flow today versus pre-pandemic? Are we back to normal?
Not yet. Even in Hong Kong, we're talking about our patronage is probably back to around 90%. So it's not bad. With the gradual and orderly reopening of the boundary with mainland China, we actually see a steady increase in patronage in Hong Kong. As I said, in 2020, we have probably lost a third of our patronage on average, some days even more. But now we're back to about 90%. So it is a slow recovery in 2022, but we believe that in 2023, we'll see a real recovery.
And what are the signs for the China reopening that's taking place? What are you seeing from a mobility standpoint? Is it almost as though the two-way traffic is back to normal again, or is that going to happen again in a phased way?
I believe it will happen in a phased way. We just over the weekend, we reopened or resumed our high-speed rail service. The tickets were sold out in 2 hours for some of the scheduled services. It's highly popular, and we see booking from both in both directions, from Hong Kong to mainland and mainland to Hong Kong.
Are you worried about the potential for a rise in COVID cases in Hong Kong territory because of the rise in cases in China?
If you see the number, we have been, for the last quarter in 2022, we have, Hong Kong has gradually opened to the rest of the world. And for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we have been gradually opening the boundary with mainland China. In fact, we now see a steady reduction in our infected cases. So we believe with the proper precautions, people coming to Hong Kong, they have to go through PCR tests before they can actually come. I think the situation is under control.
I want to turn to an important topic here in Davos, and that is sustainability within infrastructure and within transportation systems. Transportation still accounts for a huge number of global emissions. I don't have the exact number on me, but it is a significant amount. What is Hong Kong doing with that respect to produce cleaner transportation solutions?
Yes. Well, railway is itself a low-emission mode of transport. In Hong Kong, 90% of the mechanized travel are made on public transport. It's the highest in the world. Of course, we continue to look at alternative renewable energies, energy efficiency measures to continue to reduce the carbon emission. MTR is actually pleased to be able to register to the science-based target setting for carbon neutrality. So we are committed to achieve 2050 carbon neutrality.
And what is the outlook for the Hong Kong economy over the course of 2023? It's been a tough couple of years.
It has been.
Yeah.
But Hong Kong's is an open type economy. We rely on international as well as mainland trade and economic activities, financial investments, and so on. So with the gradual and orderly reopening of both the international border and the boundaries with mainland, as I said earlier, we see a real recovery in 2023.